Welcome to Knock Boom Creek, a place whispered about in hushed tones. Locals tell tales of strange occurrences, unexplained events, and an unsettling feeling that something isn't quite right. But tonight, we delve into a story so terrifying it chills the very marrow. A tale of betrayal, greed, and a curse that binds souls for eternity. The air here is thick with secrets, whispers carried on the wind. They speak of a power that lurks in the shadows. But first, I asked you to ask me anything, and at Hamad al-Shehi, 826 would like to know if I'm all right. Well, to answer your question, no, I'm not all right. I'm half right and half left. I can choose any form, really, but I guess I might be a little OCD and need the symmetry. Thank you for your question. Meet Marty, an overweight, nerdy boy trapped in the relentless cycle of adolescence. School hallways echo with the torment of bullies, and Marty is their favorite target. Every day he endures their taunts and shoves, his spirit slowly crumbling under the weight of their cruelty. He finds solace in books, escaping into worlds where heroes rise and villains fall. But reality offers no such escape. Eric and Seth, Marty's tormentors, are the embodiment of teenage tyranny. Seeking refuge, Marty finds himself in the library, a sanctuary of knowledge and quiet contemplation. Among the dusty shelves and forgotten tales, he stumbles upon something extraordinary. Hidden in the back corner, tucked away between ancient texts, lies a book unlike any other. Its leather cover is worn smooth with time, and its pages whisper secrets long forgotten. As he delicately turns the brittle pages, his heart skips a beat. A map meticulously drawn and hinting at a hidden treasure reveals itself. Could this be the answer to his dreams? Excitement and trepidation war within him. The library doors creaked shut behind Marty, offering a temporary reprieve from the relentless torment that awaited him in the hallways. Each step outside the sanctuary felt heavy, laden with the anticipation of their next cruel prank. And there they were, Eric and Seth, their shadows stretching like ominous premonitions. Eric with his cruel smirk and mocking eyes. Seth, always lurking in the background, his silence somehow more menacing than Eric's taunts.
Well.
The library, his only solace. That's where Marty found himself, clutching the leather-bound book with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. The treasure map, a glimmer of hope in the darkness of his existence. He pored over the faded script, deciphering tales of a ruthless pirate captain and his legendary buried treasure. Could this be his escape, his chance to rewrite his own story? Fate, it seemed, had a cruel sense of humor. Eric and Seth, drawn by Marty's hushed whispers about the map, now crowded around him, their eyes gleaming with avarice.
You're taking us with you, Four Eyes.
Eric snarled, his voice dripping with a mixture of threat and excitement. The treasure map, once a beacon of hope, now felt like a dangerous liability. Marty, trapped between the promise of adventure and the reality of their cruelty, reluctantly agreed. The air crackled with a nervous energy. Marty, clutching the ancient map, led Eric and Seth through the unfamiliar streets towards the waterfront. The promise of treasure had forged an uneasy alliance between the bullied and his tormentors. Each step took them further from the familiar, deeper into a world shrouded in whispers and shadows. The map, passed between them, felt heavy with the weight of history, its secrets whispering of danger and untold riches. The waterfront greeted them with a cold, salty breeze. The mournful cry of gulls overhead seemed to echo their own anxieties. The map led them to a secluded cove where a gaping maw in the cliff face hinted at secrets swallowed by the earth. The entrance to the cave, shrouded in shadow and draped with moss, seemed to exude an almost tangible aura of danger. The air within the cave was thick with the smell of damp earth and something else, something ancient and unsettling. The beam of their flashlight danced across the uneven walls, revealing glimpses of strange formations and unsettling shadows. The deeper they ventured, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The cavern echoed with the ghosts of whispers, the air thick with anticipation. And then they saw it. A ship, a majestic vessel of timber and sailcloth, rested in the heart of the cavern. It seemed to materialize from the shadows, a phantom from a bygone era. The ship, though seemingly frozen in time, felt strangely alive.
Wow, this is like the Goonies. Marty, do the truffle shuffle.
Marty glared back at Eric in disgust. They found a rope that, despite its age, had the tinsel strength to support the boys as they climbed up. The deck, worn smooth by countless voyages, creaked ominously beneath their feet. The air was thick with the scent of salt and tar, a ghostly reminder of the ship's former life. The ship, a labyrinth of secrets, held dangers as alluring as its promised treasures. Ropes and pulleys hung from the ceiling, remnants of booby traps set to deter unwelcome guests. Eric, his eyes blinded by the glint of gold, stumbled into a hidden tripwire. A net, heavy with age and dust, plummeted from the ceiling, missing him by a hair's breadth. The cavern echoed with his startled cry, a reminder of the dangers lurking in the shadows. Seth, his bravado shaken but his greed undeterred, scanned their surroundings with newfound caution. Every creak of the ship, every gust of wind that whistled through the cavern sent shivers down their spines. The air grew heavy as they approached a grand, ornately carved door. The inscription, "Captain's Quarters," gleamed faintly in the lantern light, a promise of untold riches and forgotten horrors. The room was a spectacle of opulence and decay. Gold coins glittered in overflowing chests, jewels lay scattered across dusty surfaces, and weapons, preserved by time, hung menacingly on the walls, and there in the heart of it all sat the skeletal remains of the captain. He was propped upon a throne of gold and velvet, his bony fingers clutching a piece of parchment. The parchment, brittle with age, bore a message scrawled in faded ink. Eric and Seth, their greed overcoming any fear, lunged for the treasure. They stuffed their pockets with gold and jewels, their laughter echoing through the chamber. Marty, however, remained transfixed by the skeletal figure. He reached out and lifted the captain's hat, revealing a message etched into the skull. "In me hand I hold a cup," it read. "Fill it with the blood of the greedy, then press it to me lip. Your reward shall be eternal life there, curse forever to remain on me, ship." Marty's eyes flickered from the message to Eric and Seth, who were oblivious to his discovery. His hand trembled as he reached for a pair of flintlock pistols lying on a nearby table. 2 gunshots shattered the silence. The echoes of gunshots faded, leaving behind the sharp scent of gunpowder and the groans of the wounded.
What the hell, Marty? You shot us.
Marty stood paralyzed, the weight of his actions crashing down upon him. The map, the treasure, the curse, it all felt unreal, a feverish dream he couldn't wake from. His gaze fell on the captain's skull, the etched message seeming to burn into his mind. The words whispered a promise and a warning, eternal life for a blood sacrifice. His heart pounded against his ribs, a drumbeat urging him forward. With a shaking hand, he reached for a silver goblet nestled near the captain's bony fingers. The metal was cold against his palm, a stark contrast to the heat that pulsed from the fresh wounds of his former tormentors. Steel himself, Marty pressed the goblet's rim against Eric's wound. The metallic scent of blood filled the air, a tangible reminder of the pact he was about to forge. His heart pounded in his chest, a frantic rhythm against the silence of the cavern. He repeated the act with Seth, his movements becoming more mechanical, devoid of hesitation. Each drop of blood that spilled into the goblet felt like a nail hammered into the coffin of his former life. Holding his breath, Marty tilted the goblet, pouring the blood into the captain's skeletal mouth. The crimson liquid trickled down the bone, disappearing into the darkness of the skull's depths. An unnatural stillness descended upon the chamber, broken only by the ragged gasps of the injured boys. Tendrils of black smoke seeped from between the captain's bones, swirling and coiling like phantoms drawn to the scent of blood. The air grew heavy, thick with the stench of decay and the promise of something ancient and malevolent stirring. The smoke engulfed the skeletal figure, a shroud of darkness, consuming bone and shadow. The air crackled with unseen energy, the temperature plummeting as if the cavern itself was drawing a breath. A low groan, deep and guttural, echoed through the chamber. As the smoke dissipated, the captain stood revealed. His flesh, once withered and decayed, was now whole, his features contorted in a grotesque mockery of life. His eyes, burning with an unholy light, fixed upon Marty with a gaze that pierced through him. The captain turned his gaze upon Marty, a cruel smile twisting his lips. "You have paid the price," he rasped, his voice a chilling whisper that seemed to slither through the air. "Their souls belong to me now, bound to this ship for eternity." Eric and Seth, their eyes wide with terror, could only manage muffled pleas for mercy.
No. No, please.
Their pleas were abruptly cut short as they were dragged towards the ship's shadowy depths, their forms swallowed by the darkness.
Marty, help.
At the cave's entrance, the salty air hit Marty's lungs, a stark contrast to the stale, deathly atmosphere of the cavern. He gasped, each breath a victory, a reminder that he was still alive, still breathing. The weight of the captain's gaze, the echoes of Eric and Seth's screams, followed him like shadows. But for the first time in his life, Marty felt truly free. His legs, unsteady after the rocking of the ship, nearly gave way as he stumbled towards the tree line. For a moment he hesitated, the urge to run back into the darkness, to undo what had been done, almost overwhelming him. But the cavern held nothing for him now but the ghosts of his victims and the chilling triumph of the resurrected captain. The map, clutched tightly in his hand, suddenly felt like a brand, a reminder of the price he had paid for his freedom. With a surge of anger, he crumpled it into a ball, the parchment protesting with a dry crackle. It was a relic of a life he no longer recognized, a life of weakness and fear. A shiver, not of cold, but of an unfamiliar energy, ran through Marty's body. He felt different, altered. His senses seemed sharper, the sounds of the forest amplified, the scent of salt air tinged with a metallic tang he couldn't quite place. He flexed his hands, surprised by the sudden surge of strength that coursed through his arms. His fingers brushed against the familiar frames of his glasses. He hadn't even realized he was still wearing them. They had been such an integral part of his identity for so long, a symbol of his perceived weakness, a target for Eric and Seth's cruelty. With a shaky hand, he removed them, staring in the water at his reflection in the moonlight that filtered through the trees. His reflection stared back at him, a stranger in the familiar contours of his own face. Gone was the timidity, the uncertainty that had clouded his eyes for so long. He laid down his glasses, no longer needing them, and walked away from the water. As he walked, his pants started to fall down, almost as though they were way too big all of a sudden. He removed his shirt to use as a temporary belt, but to his surprise, where a portly belly once resided, were washboard abs, his arms swollen with muscular biceps.
Ha! Truffle shuffle this, Eric!
The first rays of dawn pierced through the canopy, painting the forest floor in hues of gold and crimson. Marty stood at the edge of the woods, his silhouette outlined against the rising sun. He was leaving behind the wreckage of his old life, the torment, the fear, the crushing weight of his own perceived inadequacy. A strange sense of exhilaration washed over him, a heady mix of fear and anticipation. He was walking towards the unknown, a future unwritten and uncertain. But for the first time, he wasn't afraid. He had tasted power, felt the intoxicating rush of control, and there was no going back. He turned his back on the rising sun, on the remnants of his former life, and walked towards the horizon. The shadows followed him, but they no longer held him captive. He carried the darkness within him now, a part of him, fueling his every step. The forest, once a refuge, now seemed to hum with a life of its own, acknowledging him, accepting him as something more than just a boy who had stumbled upon a pirate's curse. He was something different now, something powerful, something dangerous, and he was ready to embrace the darkness that awaited him. The night air was thick with the scent of salt and something ancient and unsettling. It clung to Marty like a shroud, a reminder of the pact he had made. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying echoes of screams swallowed by the darkness of the cave. He clutched the captain's compass, a chilling gift. The needle spun erratically, lost in the curse. He was both free and shackled, the price of power a heavy burden. As he stared at his reflection, he saw a stranger staring back. Gone was the timidity, replaced by a chilling emptiness, now filled with a darkness that both terrified and exhilarated him. He walked with a newfound purpose, his steps sure, his gaze fixed on the road ahead, the darkness a shield. He had stared into the abyss and emerged, forged anew. He passed groups of teenagers, their laughter dying down as he approached. They sensed the change in him, the aura of danger. At a crosswalk, his reflection stared back from a darkened window, eyes burning with intensity. The traffic signal changed, bathing him in an eerie green glow. He stood there, caught between worlds, tasting power, a chilling reminder of bargains that could never be undone. Oh, you thought this was a pirate story, maybe a treasure tale, or an overcoming bullies. Feel good? Wrong. It was actually a true record of a vampire. See, the part I forgot to mention was that paper in the captain's hand was a contract. Marty knew exactly what to expect. It told him as much. It also told him to sign it with blood. So Marty pricked his finger with the tip of a dagger on the table and dotted the bottom of the page. Then it told him to look at the back of the captain's skull. So, would you have chosen the same as Marty, given the opportunity? I mean, there was no way of knowing it was true, but I probably would have taken a shot in the dark, ha 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 ha. Go ahead and ask me more questions in the comments and I'll respond in upcoming videos. Till next time, my friends, good night from Knockboom Creek.